KLW's on the front line through the battles and the pains, with a camera in the fray and the world on our screens. We're the voice of the silence, the witness of the scenes. Headlines flashing bright, from the shadows we arise, with the truth in our hands under perilous skies. Every story told is a battle we fight, through the darkness and the fear we bring the light. In the chaos, in the flames, we'll stand tall, with the courage to reveal through the rise and the fall. From the embers of the war to the echoes of the call, we're the eyes of the world and we'll never stall. KLW, we're the warriors on the front lines, through the blood and the fire we'll define the times. In the heat of the battle where the truth lies, we're the voice of the war and the world will find. From the ruins and the wreckage, every story's told. Through the tears and the heartbreak, the bravery unfolds. In the darkest hours, when the world's torn apart, KLW brings the stories straight from the heart. With the cameras rolling through the wreckage and the pain, we capture the reality while the world remains. Every angle, every moment in the line of fire, we're the pulse of the battlefield, never to tire. KLW, we're the warriors on the front lines, through the blood and the fire we'll define the times. In the heat of the battle where the truth aligns, we're the voice of the war and the world will find. KLW, we're the warriors on the front lines, through the blood and the fire we'll define the times. In the heat of the battle where the truth aligns, we're the voice of the war and the world will find. Through the smoke and the ruins, we'll pierce the veil, with every breath we take and every tale. We're the heartbeat of the conflict in the shadowed frail. With KLW's vision, the truth won't fail. Stand firm, we're the beacon in the fray. Through the dust and the fury, we'll light the way. In the fight for the truth, where the heroes lay. KLW, the story's here to stay. KLW, we're the warriors on the front lines, through the blood and the fire we'll define the times. In the heat of the battle where the truth aligns, we're the voice of the war and the world will find. So here's to the courage and the tales we unfold. In the heart of the conflict, our story's told. KLW, with the truth we hold. In the fire of the war, our legacy bold.
You can't handle the truth!
KLW World News coming to you live here this evening, and well, today has been a disappointment. Today I found out that one of the largest moving target ranges in the world, well, they're not going to open here in Texas. I've been looking forward to this range opening, but, well, today the final decision came down. They will not be opening Epic City. That's right. This range, community for camel jockeys, or for the blue-collar district of this community, Goat Fuckers United. Epic City will not be opening in Texas. It's been made official now that Epic City will not open. Now, my wife's first response is, great, good start, but what about the 350 mosques that are in Texas? Well, hell, some good old boys and a couple cases of beer on a Saturday afternoon could take care of those. But, well, we'll have to see. But anyway, Epic City will not be opening. Now, the Iranians, they have deployed their navy to the Strait of Hormuz, of which I believe is prostitution of bovines, and it has been verbalized. That's how you get Hormuz. That's right, the Hormuz. Bovine prostitution. Some of you will get that. I'm hoping. What was Epic City? Epic City was going to be the greatest moving target range. It was going to be a collection of radical Muslims here in the state of Texas, which gave the perfect opportunity for us locals to go and sight in some of our personal equipment. Well, they've closed it now and said that they will not be opening the facility. So that opportunity is going to be short-lived. We're going to have to figure out another way to go about doing that. So anyway, we'll figure that out. You know, there's other opportunities. We're equal opportunity sighters. But anyway, a lot going on. And again, the Iranian Navy has deployed in the Strait of Hormuz. The cow prostitute, or anyway. So there's a lot of propaganda going around, and I'm not the only one that's seeing it. And well, I'm not the only one talking about it.
I got to tell you, in the last 8 to 10 years, I have seen more propaganda than I've seen in my entire life. And the problem with it is that so many of you keep falling for it over and over and over again. And it's one particular crowd, those Q-tards. I'm going to say it out loud. I'm willing to lose the followers. I don't care anymore. The same people that battled with me for 4 years, saying that Trump was still in command, he had the military, that there were white hats working behind the scenes to get everything taken care of. These same motherfuckers are now the ones saying that Trump is in bed with Satan and Israel, and it's going to be the death of us all. Which is it? Was he in charge that entire time, or was that just one more grift you had going on? You're preaching the same thing that Democrats are preaching today. Democrats are saying the exact same thing. You know, Joe Biden and those people that were going to make you own nothing and be happy, you're siding with them now? Well, let me remind you what they were saying, I don't know, just 4 or 5 years ago.
Iran's nuclear program is galloping forward. It is enriching at higher levels, 20%, even 60%. In small cases, it's using more advanced centrifuges. We're now down, based on published reports, to a few months. If this continues, if they continue to enrich at the levels and in the ways that they're doing, it will get down eventually to a few weeks. So that is a concrete problem. We have an interest in putting that nuclear problem back in the box, because an Iran with a nuclear weapon, or with the ability to produce fissile material on very short notice to get one, is an Iran that's going to be an even worse actor.
Iran has rapidly accelerated its nuclear program and reduced cooperation with international inspectors. Their breakout period is down from about a year, which is what we knew it was during the deal, to just a few weeks or less.
Iran, the world's largest state sponsor of terrorism, has directly or by hiring criminals mounted assassination attempts against dissidents and high-ranking current and former U.S. officials, including right here on American soil.
The president will not tolerate attacks on American troops, and neither will I. Our teammates were killed by radical militias backed by Iran and operating inside Syria and Iraq.
Yes, it is true. Iran is closer to a nuclear weapon than ever before. If they chose to get a nuclear weapon, could probably get one within weeks.
So, which is it? Were they lying then, or are they lying now? Or were they telling the truth then, and they're lying now? While you're thinking on that one, this is one of the Iranian ministers. He's kind of spilling the beans. You might want to listen up.
فعالیت هسته‌ای شدیم واقعا هدفمون ساخت بمب بود دیگه ما تعارف که نداریم.
یعنی شما میگید هدف ساخت بمب بوده
واقعا 100%.
هدف کی این بوده؟ یعنی
کل نظام یا همه اونایی که این فعالیت رو شروع کردن واقعا هدف ساخت بمب بود. حالا که شروع کرده بودیم و دیگه می‌خواستیم این کارو خب اینو شما اگه میتونستیم اینو حفظش کنیم و بمب آزمایش می‌کردیم کار تموم شده بود مثل در پاکستان ما که شروع کردیم بعد تا آخرش
حالا اینه که شما میگید میگم چون ما تا حالا رسمی خیلی نشدیم کسی این صحبت رو کنه اینا که شما میگید تبعاتی نداره مثلا مذاکرات و اینها به عنوان بالاخره کسی که
I gotta tell you, there is nothing that gives me more pleasure in this world than giving somebody a big, swift kick to the balls of their cognitive dissonance.
You're watching the Kramer Says Project.
That's a good thing to do. Nice swift kick there. Again, the Iranian Navy is responding in the Strait of Hormuz. The U.S. Navy is as well. Little difference in the vessels deploying there, but that's what they're coming with. No, actually, this is what the U.S. is coming with.
You just put out on Truth Social that you will be pausing energy plant destruction by 10 days to Monday, April 6th at 8 p.m. Eastern time because the negotiations are going very well. I would never ask you to reveal to the public specifics, but could you broadly characterize where we are at?
Well, the Iranians asked me to do that, and I was not happy with them because I made a statement that we're having productive negotiations. I don't know that they get there. Maybe they do, maybe they won't. I mean, look, in a certain sense, we've already won because we've knocked out their Navy, we've knocked out their Air Force, completely knocked out their Air Force, just about completely knocked out. We knocked out 154 ships, and pretty good ships. In fact, I said, why didn't we just take them instead of sinking them? We could have used them ourselves, right? But they like showing how tough they are. They like them at the bottom of the sea, probably a little bit better. But think of it. We knocked out their Navy. We knocked out their Air Force. We knocked out most of their missiles. They're down to about 9%. We knocked out their missile launchers, which is a big deal because without the missile launchers, the missiles don't do very well. You can't go to your window and say, let's throw a missile out in the air. And we knocked out all of their communications, their telecommunications, and very importantly, we knocked out their anti-aircraft apparatus, which was very good, but it didn't last long because we hit it the second night, and we're just free flying right over the middle of Tehran, do whatever we want. And one other thing we knocked out was their leaders. So we knocked out the supreme leader, as they called him, Khomeini. We then knocked out. They then named another one. We knocked them out, and we knocked out part of the third group. And we're just holding for the rest. We know where they all are. And it's one country that does not want to be, you have very few people want to be the leader. You know, everyone wants to be president of the United States. Everyone wants to be president or whatever, prime minister of a certain country. There are not a lot of takers to be the head of Iran right now. I will tell you, they're all fighting not to. We don't want that position. But they asked me if they would, Kayleigh, importantly, they said to me, very nicely, through my people, could we have more time? Because we're talking about tomorrow night, which is pretty quick. And if they don't do what they have to do, I will knock out their power plants. And he said, does that include nuclear? Because they have nuclear, you know, plenty of money. They have a lot of money, and they built nuclear and they built regular power plants, but they're massive and very expensive, billions of dollars. And so I gave them a 10-day period. They asked for 7. You're going to say, oh, Trump's a terrible negotiator. They asked for 7, and I said, I'm going to give you 10 because they gave me ships. We talked about the 8 ships, you know, the president that I talked about the other day. But they asked for 7, and I gave them 10. You got 10 days, and they were very thankful about that. Now, they may say, oh, we're not speaking. I don't like that because that wasn't true the last time, as you found out. But we are speaking, and it's going fairly well, and so I gave them 10 days.
Well, we're going to see what he gives them next. Now, somebody that's been giving something for a long time is Bill Maher. He's been giving people hell and, well, laughs for decades. Something I've noticed about Bill Maher over the last, let's say, 5 years, he's starting to grow just a wee bit of one, but somewhat of a brain. I used to consider Bill Maher an idiot. He now is, getting a little more educated than he was before.
MAGA split is like this kind of like MAGA classic, and they say, you know, they feel betrayed because he was like the no new wars guy. Okay, you know this. Okay.
I know
so,
the arguments.
Okay, that's the argument, is that he didn't keep to his principles. And then there's the other people who say, well, he never had any principles. That's not why we love him. We love him because we trust his judgment, and we love him because he's flexible. That's why he's different than everybody else. He can turn on a dime. And sometimes that is a good thing. Sometimes that is a good thing. But you have now this guy, Joe Kent. Who is Joe Kent? He was the head of national something. He quit this week. It was a big story. I think he was the counterintelligence guy. And he said, I can't go along with this because, you know what, he's been listening to too much Tucker Carlson. It's, the Jews made us do it. It's just another version of anti-Semitism that comes out. First it was BDS, then it was their colonizers and genocide, which it wasn't, and all these other reasons, like you can't have a state in the world that's based on religion, even though there's like 46 Muslim countries that are based on religion. Some have the name right in the title of the country. But whatever it is, you have all these. And now the big answer is, no, Israel made us do it. We're Israel's bitch. I don't think we're Israel's bitch. I think we're Israel's ally. But, if I have to be on one side of this MAGA thing, either Trump or Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, and Nick Fuentes, I'll be with Trump on this one.
Now, the Iranians, they have been attacking their neighbors, one of those being the Saudis. And, well, the Saudis, well, they kind of think it's funny, believe it or not. In fact, they're making jokes about it. The Iranians continue to fire these drones that sound like mopeds going by. And, well, the Saudis, their air defense systems shoot them down. So what do the Saudis do when they hear these mopeds or Iranian drones? They flock outside to watch the Saudi air defenses shoot down the Iranian drones. Well, it's become so much of a joke that Saudis are now going around just playing recordings of drones just to watch people come out of the buildings. There you go. Jokes on Iran. Now, something else I wanted to show you. Well, here, let's go to California first with the voter fraud out there that's going on.
When somebody comes up and they're like a homeless person, they're going to sign the petition. It's you give them like a couple bucks and they sign.
Yeah, well, they give us the money to give it to them.
So how does that work on Skid Row? Because I bet like a lot of the people on Skid Row aren't registered, right?
Right. Well, I'll say probably like 30% is registered. The other people are not, because a lot of people on Skid Row is from out of state. You know what I mean? So they're not registered at all. Yeah, so what they're doing is they're either re-registering them or there's them guys, gangbanger guys that I don't want. That's why it's very. Yeah, we totally. Yeah, this gangbanger guys do. They sell you the names, or whatever, and they pay you hourly. You know what I mean? And they get they pay you hourly, and you give them a petition, and they'll pay you.
Gangbanger guys will come in, they'll give you like a list of names.
Yeah.
And then the homeless people who don't have an address and are registered, they'll sign in that person's name.
Yeah, absolutely.
When somebody comes up and they're like a homeless person, they're going to sign the petition. It's you give them like a couple bucks and they sign.
Yeah, well, they give us the money to give it to them.
So how does that work on Skid Row? Because I bet like a lot of the people on Skid Row aren't registered, right?
Right. Well, I'll say probably like 30% is registered. The other people are not, because a lot of people on Skid Row is from out of state. You know what I mean? So they're not registered at all. Yeah, totally. So what they're doing is they're either re-registering them or there's them guys, gangbanger guys that I don't want. That's why it's very. Yeah, we totally. Yeah, this gangbanger guys do. They sell you the names, or whatever, and they pay you hourly. You know what I mean? And they get they pay you hourly, and you give them a petition, and they'll pay you.
Gangbanger guys will come in, they'll give you like a list of names.
Yeah.
And then the homeless people who don't have an address and are registered, they'll sign in that person's name.
Yeah, absolutely.
When somebody comes up and they're...
It's insane, but that's what they're doing every single day in California. And well, you learn something new every day. This is something we actually already knew, but well, it may be new to some of you. Now, lots of you will remember Robin Williams. Had he been a preacher, well, there may be a lot more religious people in the world.
Talking about the time Moses said to Pharaoh, "Let my people go," and Pharaoh went in dreams. But that's what they dropped then. And even then, Pharaoh was not blessed. It's all please, David Copperfield. No. And then... we're going through the desert, and then they get the 10 Commandments, would be adjusted by certain presidents. That happens later. And he calls to God again, and the sea parts. And even the most doubting Jew is going, "You're good. Let's go, everybody." And then he's afraid of water. And people say to me, they say, Jesus wasn't Jewish. I said, of course he was Jewish. 30 years old, single, living at home with his parents. Come on. Working in his father's business. His mother thought he was God's gift. He's Jewish. Give it up. It's an old tradition. And if he was Jewish, and many of his disciples were Jewish, for the Last Supper, would they have not have gone out for Chinese? I think so.
Of course they would have. Everybody knows that. Even Dan Bongino, he knows this too.
Here's Jimmy Kimmel making fun of Mark Wayne Mullen, our new DHS secretary, because God forbid, guy was a plumber. Check this out.
Don't worry, Trump's got a whole new generation of thinkers lined up, including his newly confirmed Secretary of Homeland Security, Mark Wayne, Chuck Mike, Bruce Dave Mullen. Maybe Mellon's better. He is the now former senator of Oklahoma. Before he was elected to the Senate, Mark Wayne Mullen was a low-level MMA fighter and a plumber. That's right. We have a plumber protecting us from terrorism now.
You know, Jimmy, I want to say something different right now, but I promise you I'm really trying to reduce the F-bombs on the show, so I'm going to pass on that. I'd give you a language alert here. Take the script, you know, and that little paper. It's probably a big stack, too. Roll it up in a ball, Jimmy. That script edge. The thing about plumbers is they use their skills and their mind and their hands to make the world just a little bit safer and a cleaner place for all of us to live in. We wouldn't be able to live without plumbers who manage to do things people like Jimmy Kimmel can't never be able to do. By the way, that's how the left looks at you, by the way. These goofball shitheads on the left like Jimmy Kimmel. The left lives in the world of ideas. They're only infrequently smacked in the face by reality.
Yeah, it's unbelievable where they live. Now, it's also unbelievable where we live in a country where we are constantly being hacked, constantly being monitored. Information is constantly being stolen. Well, in Russia, you can't get internet at all. In the U.S., now you can't get a router from China.
This week, the FCC took additional action to safeguard Americans and the communications networks we all rely on. We did so by adding consumer routers produced in foreign countries to the FCC's covered list. Routers are those small boxes that many of you use at home to connect your devices like computers and smartphones to the internet. While these devices may seem indistinguishable from other pieces of hardware, the reality is that malicious actors can exploit security gaps in foreign-made routers to launch cyber attacks or otherwise disrupt networks. This week's FCC decision follows a national security determination provided by executive branch agencies. The executive branch determined that foreign-produced routers introduce a supply chain vulnerability that could disrupt the U.S. economy or critical infrastructure. They also found that they pose a severe cybersecurity risk that could be leveraged to immediately and severely disrupt U.S. critical infrastructure. This FCC action means that new models of foreign-produced routers will no longer be eligible for marketing or sale in the U.S. But there are 2 points in particular for consumers to bear in mind. First, this update to the FCC's covered list does not prohibit the purchase or use of any router that the FCC previously authorized. If a model is on the shelf today, you can still buy it. And this decision does not prohibit anyone from continuing to use their existing routers. Second, the executive branch national security determination included an exemption for routers that the Department of War or the Department of Homeland Security determined do not present unacceptable risks. So producers of these consumer-grade routers are encouraged to submit an application for conditional approval to the Department of War or DHS using the guidance attached to the determination. Now, back here at the FCC, we're going to continue working to safeguard Americans and our communications networks from bad actors that would do us harm.
What's the point? The point is to stop any sales of any of their routers in the future and get them all to comply and to apply with the requirements. And that will allow us to go through and test and approve all of those. It gets them all in line for approval. So from this point going forward, if your shit's got a back door in it, we know it. Now, speaking of things having a hole in it, this is a 2-liter bottle with a laser beam being fired through it. Now, the bottle is full of water, and the water is coming out of a hole on the opposite side of the bottle from the laser, and the laser is focused on the center of the hole where the water is coming out. And we're doing that to show how the stream of water, like fiber optics cable, will actually capture and twist the laser beam inside the stream of water.
This laser is aimed directly at a hole in this 2-liter bottle. If I open the bottle to let water flow out, the laser beam will bend with the stream and hit the pan. This demo is even cooler in the dark as you can see the sharp bend of the laser. The light internally reflects in the stream and provides a visual example of the principle that fiber optic cables use. This laser is aimed directly at a hole.
Yeah, it does. Well, so we're going to go from laser beams going out through orifices in the sides of 2-liter bottles to, well, how solar radiation goes out through the solar system.
Solar radiation storms are large amounts of solar energetic particles in the form of protons that result from magnetic eruptions in the sun in the form of coronal mass ejections. These particles are accelerated into space at high speeds, sometimes even nearing the speed of light. We care about these storms because these solar energetic protons, they can penetrate things like satellites in space. They can get into the electronic circuitry of those satellites and cause anomalous commands to happen. They can penetrate into the outer layers of our atmosphere, especially near the polar regions, and cause high-frequency radio communications to be impossible for days. They can delay space launches, but most importantly, when it comes to human safety, if you're an astronaut in space or a high-flying air crew member near the polar regions at those higher altitudes, they can penetrate human tissue. These are reasons why we care about these storms and why we forecast the intensity and probability of these events out to 3 days in advance. We measure the intensity of these solar radiation storms using satellites in space, and they are measuring the number of these energetic protons that are out there. Normally, there's less than one, and as we climb up the ladder of numbers of these energetic protons, we start reaching NOAA's Space Weather Scale attribution. So that S1 means there's 10 of these energetic particles. S2 means there's 100, and so on, all the way up to hundreds of thousands of them when there's normally less than one, and that would be an S5 or extreme level storm. Now, as far as being able to monitor the progression in our forecast and what we're thinking, everybody can do that by monitoring our webpage at spaceweather.gov, and you can see these solar proton events unfold when they happen to be arriving here at Earth. Thank you.
Now, that's solar wind. Let's go to wind here on Earth, or actually, how shall we say, artificial wind. Back in 1910, not a lot of people had electricity, but people still wanted to keep cold or cool, so they had this hand-cranked, spring-driven fan that you crank up and it'll run for about 30 minutes. I'll take it. Now, that'll keep you cool, but, well, this was pretty cold. This is Arctic frost. This is from Tom Fenton telling us all about what he's found out here just in the last few days.
You may have heard the term Arctic frost a lot lately and wondered, what is that? Arctic frost is the name of the unprecedented criminal investigation launched by the Biden Justice Department against President Trump and other Americans for disputing the 2020 presidential election. So, why is Arctic frost in the news now? Previously, secret records further confirm Arctic frost was a politicized use of federal law enforcement powers to monitor and investigate political opponents of the Biden administration. The abuse of power through Arctic frost has been found to involve senior Biden administration officials. Congressman Jim Jordan recently released a 2022 memo from then FBI Director Christopher Wray, requesting authorization to open a full sensitive investigative matter regarding alleged efforts to obstruct the congressional certification of the Electoral College. Biden's Attorney General Merrick Garland approved that request alongside handwritten consent by Deputy Attorney General Lisa Monaco. The memo states the investigation would probe open source reporting and public statements made by individuals closely associated with the Trump campaign. Recently, Senator Chuck Grassley released documents showing that 8 Republican senators had their cell phone data collected as part of the Arctic frost probe. Senator Grassley also revealed that the Biden DOJ subpoenaed personal and other bank records of hundreds of Biden's perceived political opponents. Prominent conservative organizations and activists, such as Turning Point USA, the Republican National Committee, American First Policy Institute, Lara Trump, Rudy Giuliani, and Mark Meadows were targeted, just to name a few. In total, over 430 conservative organizations and individuals were targeted as part of Arctic frost, including Judicial Watch President Tom Fitton.
Not too long ago, I had significant skin cancer surgery. And a few hours after I got home, I'm on the couch recovering, feeling sorry for myself, when the FBI comes knocking. They came knocking on my door with a grand jury subpoena from the Biden DOJ. The agents tried to be pleasant and helpfully pointed out that something had come from me from Amazon. I suspect I am the first person in American history to receive FBI notice of an Amazon package delivery. I ended up being hassled and abused by the special counsel team for 4 hours over Trump documents, my First Amendment rights, and what I had for lunch with President Trump. It was a partisan fishing expedition. Frankly, it was like having to spend a day on an MSNBC panel. But I knew why they brought me before that grand jury. It was payback and intimidation for daring to defend Trump against their abuse of power.
Judicial Watch is a leader in investigating the abuse of power by the Biden administration targeting President Trump and other conservatives. Judicial Watch is also suing for FBI records on Biden's lawfare scheme to prosecute and jail President Trump, suing the Justice Department for records on any Biden spying on President Trump, and FOIA lawsuits against the DOJ for records about the 2022 FBI raid on Mar-a-Lago. Judicial Watch will continue its lawsuits to expose the full truth about Arctic frost and other aspects of the Biden and Obama administration's weaponization of the federal government, to try to subvert, jail, and prosecute Trump and countless other innocent Americans. Because no one is above the law.
Now, folks, you need to be prepared. If you're not prepared, you need to get prepared. There are terrorists already in the United States who are ready to attack you and I, no matter where we are. A brother and sister were indicted for alleged IED, that is improvised explosive device plot at a Florida base tied to Iran war. We are seeing this every day, folks. Every single day, there is something happening somewhere at a U.S. military base or somewhere in the U.S., and this is only going to get worse. Now, China, they want to make it a mechanized war and use their robot dogs that they get from Temu. Gotta get me one of those, folks. So anyway, that's all I had for you guys tonight. Not a whole lot going on in the news today. There's more, but wasn't worth covering. We're going to get more news for you as it comes out in the future. We're also going to be going on the road more than we have been. So, a lot going on. Let's go check here to see if there was anything. We were supposed to have Racer in here. That didn't happen either. So I'm blaming all of this on him, as I usually do. There's nothing new about that. If you are not part of the KLW World News Network, now is the time to join. Go to klwworldnews.com and get signed up there, VIP or above. Also, to the people who are writing me emails about what radios they should get for being on the network, well, come to a roundtable. We'll talk about it there. That's where KLW World News members discuss all these things. Well, we'll get you educated there. That's what we do. So anyway, have a great night, folks. I'll bring up a War Watch here shortly. I'm not in any condition to try to get into the simulator. That's why we haven't been driving. That's why we haven't been flying. Haven't been doing any of those things. Although, I did want to bring this up, and let me see if I can find it here. I'll open it. We will be flying. I have a good idea of where Special Forces is going near Iran. And we're going to be flying some islands off the coast of Iran near the Strait of Hormuz. And we're going to be showing you these islands down here and the advantages and disadvantages to each of these islands and what should be taken and the order of which they should be taken. A lot of people were talking about this island here, which is Kark Island. This is where 90% of Iran's oil is shipped out of the country. But if you want to control the strait, you have to control the islands down here. This is its thinnest part. But I would be, if I were the U.S. military, well, down here is where I would be focusing my efforts. Not so much on this island up here. You can drop a bomb and put this out of business. it's the strait here is where the Iranians want to act up and where you have to be able to take it out on them. And so I would take the outer and work my way in. And if they try to do anything, I would just devastate them with overwhelming firepower. I'd bomb the living shit out of them until there was nothing there. I would carpet bomb. Anywhere they fire on the island from, carpet bomb it until there's nothing left. Let them know that is not a approved thing or a sanctioned thing, but this is completely a military base. This whole thing right here, this is all military base. So when I can get into the simulator to fly it, we will get into it and fly it. So you got military base there, you got military base here. I mean, look at all these bunkers under the ground here. They got stuff all over the place. All these are bunkers. Got more bunkers over here. See them all? Look at all this. So, yeah, these are just fortresses. All these islands out here are fortresses, and they need to be taken. So, yes, PayPal is still Pagosa. Thank you. So anyway, as soon as I can get back into the simulator, we will fly in the simulator. We will drive in the simulator. But at this point in time, because it's a racing seat and because of the issue I'm having with my back, I cannot get into it. And if I did, you would be able to hear me down the road. So anyway, with that, we're going to call it a night. Have a great night. Take care, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.
That's all, folks.